Thank you, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you, Simon and Lola and the sponsors for this fantastic event. Yeah, I decided to go for a Miami-themed presentation. I went a little bit crazy, but that's what consultants do, right? They like making really nice PowerPoint presentations. So let's dive in. Oh, quite animated. All right, just very, very quickly about myself so that you know who this is talking to you and why I think you should listen. I have recently, only just over a year ago, joined consulting or rejoined consulting. And prior to that, I was working in various platforms for the last 15 years. So you see eBay there, PayPal, which I'm sure all of you will know, Mobile.de, which is Germany's largest car classifieds platform. So a lot of the stories I heard today resonated with me quite a bit. VeryMe, which is a digital identity management startup, which focuses on helping you manage digital identities across various digital ecosystems. And Idealo, which is Europe's leading price comparison platform, and in Germany, actually, even with a transactional component. The topics that I'm very, very close to my heart are things like digital ecosystems, e-commerce, marketplaces, fintech, digital identity management, and then basically wrapped around end-to-end customer experience, customer-driven innovation, and customer centricity. So a lot of the things that we've already heard today with some of my previous speakers talking about, solving a true problem, right? Catherine's company solves a real problem that people are having. Or Jay talking about customer centricity. A lot of those things, I was very pleased to see that I will now be repeating those. So the good thing is you will for sure keep them in mind. I'm very passionate about B2B2C because very, very often the last C gets forgotten. Companies often focus on the second B, and they forget about the joint C that they want to target. So I just want to raise your awareness to, you have to look at it end to end, right? With every business partner, with every partnership, you always have to keep in mind what is it that your final joint customer wants. And again, you will see, I'm not the first today to come up with a chicken and egg issue. Of course, what came first, right? And in the end, it doesn't really matter because, of course, you need to have supply on your site in order for anybody to ever want to look. But it's actually so much harder to keep the customers happy. And we also heard earlier, I forgot who it was, another speaker said, it's so much more expensive to keep acquiring new customers than to actually keeping the ones you already have. I think it was 6 times more expensive. So you'd better make damn sure that you keep the people happy, and that's what you do when you create delightful customer experiences. But it's not only keeping customers happy, because if you do, then your partners will be happy as well. Sales will happen automatically if you solve a true problem for consumers, if you have a great customer experience, and in order to do that, we'll talk a little bit in a few slides further what it is you need to actually be focusing on. But let's have a look at what the purpose of a marketplace is. Right? We've had some previous speakers talking about this. I wanted to share my current definition. So it's a digital platform that efficiently connects buyers and sellers, enhances convenience, expands market reach, builds trust, fosters competition and innovation, and drives economic growth. So we've got a whole lot of buzzwords stuck in this one sentence describing a marketplace, but you can see that if you get all of those right, then that's where the true magic will happen. Marketplaces, platforms are a fantastic way, but I guess you all know this already, a fantastic way to generate sales, increase revenue, increase reach, etc. Coming back to the supply and demand side and the potentially chicken and egg situation, we had heard that it's so much harder, right, to keep the demand side happy, so i.e. the consumer happy. So I just want to say, yes, chicken and egg, you need both for sure, and you need to always make sure that you have the right supply and the right product market fit, not only for your platform, but also for the products on your platform or marketplace. But you need to keep the demand side happy. And so I would like for you to put a little bit more weight on the customer side, because then, as we said, as I just said a few slides earlier, if you have the demand side happy and rejoining and coming back, then you, the merchants, the dealers, your partners will be happy as well. And just to summarize it a little bit, in case you're not yet convinced, I'm a big fan of customer centricity, and of course, your partners can also be your customers, so it does work both ways. But customers are the lifeblood. They have loyalty and repeat businesses that they bring to you. It can be a competitive advantage, mouth-to-mouth marketing, trust. We talked about trust quite a few times today already. I personally think trust is the basis for pretty much anything, and that's also the big benefit of marketplaces, that with a good brand, right, they can help so many thousands and thousands of so many merchants piggyback on the trust that a marketplace offers. Of course, the network effects, you all know about that. Merchant success follows customer success, and the adaptability that a good marketplace will deliver. But for all of those points, really, again, it's about focusing, in my opinion, really on the customer and what the customer wants. You have to understand the customer. You have to know what their pain points are. You have to really listen, listen, listen. Do not ever, ever assume. That's one thing, but that's one of the nuggets. I admit, not quite as bold as Niels's nugget, but listen, listen, and listen again, and do not ever, ever assume. I have worked in companies where the product department would say, oh yeah, no, we do. We do customer-centric thinking, and we listen to our customers. Of course we do. We know the product really well. We do A/B testing. And I said, okay, great. What about C, D, E, and F? And they're like, what do you mean? No, we know it's either A or B. And I said, no, you don't. Really go and listen. So in one of my previous companies, I was chief customer officer responsible for the end-to-end customer experience. That involved the transactional side of the product, customer care, data analytics, strategies around customer retention and customer experiences like loyalty programs, etc. And I implemented a Voice of the Customer program, which ensured that everybody in the company, at least once a quarter, had to come and listen in with customer care to listen to real problems that consumers have. And it actually really increased ownership and accountability. Spencer had mentioned it as well, and there were not that many hands up. How often do you actually talk to your customers? And how often do you talk to the churned customers? So I'm in full agreement with Spencer there. That's for sure one of the ways to success, is to really understanding the customer needs and pain points. But first things first, so customer centricity. Going to go through several slides now, all of them touching on why it's important and how to be very customer-centric. Now, I'm not sure if there's anybody here in the room that does not already have a marketplace or is maybe thinking about building one. This next slide I stole from Julian Carvoll, who is a professor at a German university, and he wrote a book called The Ecosystemizer. And what's interesting is that he basically says we need to look at the human needs holistically, and any marketplace or any product offering or anything that we want to offer to our customers has to be along one of those 10 dimensions. So ask yourself if any of those solve any, if your product offering or your marketplace or your solution addresses any of those problems, because those are the predominant areas that customers will familiarize themselves with. I'm going to jump over the next slides quickly, but I trust that you will receive them so you can look at them in your own time. Almost done. Okay, great. So we just also heard that it's important for all stakeholders to collaborate, for there to be true partnerships, win-win, and ideally a third win partnership. That was very, very clear with Bernie's presentation just now. And you need to think of things end to end. So the best way to do that is really to start with the end in mind, understand what is it that we even want to achieve, and before you even start thinking about rolling out new products or new features, again, ask customer care. What are the problems that you see? What do you think will actually happen if we launch this product or this feature? What kind of questions do you think customers will have? It's very similar to speaking to the developers. So when I was at PayPal, I launched a really successful product. It was actually the most successful product outside of the US market. And we spent 6 months, 3 to 6 months, doing research, doing customer-driven innovation, which is basically going to the merchants, going to people's homes, and just letting them talk to you about what their daily challenges are. It was not a questionnaire with fixed questions that we wanted to find the answers to. We were very open-minded, and the results or the conversations we had delivered amazing results, and it shaped the way the product was then going to be built. And guess what? Niels will like this. We had developers joining us in the conversations with merchants and customers before we even knew what it was we wanted to build. And that was a highly successful approach, and really recommend it. Another very important point, personalization at scale. Heard it today as well. So I'm glad I'm not alone. It's about the data set, the data pool, the masses of data we have these days, and matching that with customer expectations. It's about not keeping data in silos. I work with companies that have oceans full of data, but they don't know how to use this data because they don't have a single unique identifier, or it's somewhere down in the data warehouse and it's not accessible. So it's about democratizing data and allowing different business units or product owners or developers to actually tap into your data pools and to play around a little bit and see where are there benefits, where are there gaps, what can we do? So if your data currently does not allow you to do that, then it's very, very well invested time to look at your data architecture. Spend a little money. It's a great investment because the data that you have is worth gold, right? I mean, data is the new gold or the new oil or whatever it is, how you want to describe it. And then, of course, the next point, think ahead and anticipate the future. As a successful marketplace, and also thinking about the different KPIs that who was it? Spencer, I think, as well. Not sure. The different KPIs you have, you need to be thinking one step ahead constantly. And as a good marketplace, as a successful platform, anticipating what's going to happen. So it's always worthwhile to let your teams play around a little bit, go crazy, be creative, and of course having a failing fast culture, or allowing for problems or for mistakes to be made, because you have to make mistakes in order to find some good nuggets that maybe the mainstream would have overlooked. Understanding your customer journey, it's very, very complex. There's not this one journey. There's very, very many starting points, entry points, drop-off points. It's, customer segmentation, the way we knew it maybe 10, 15 years ago with personas, that's kind of out the door, right? It's so much more complex nowadays, but again, coming back to data, if you get the data architecture and the data right, then you can get so much information and so much detail. And I'll talk a little bit about data in just a bit. Happy employees, happy customers. That's definitely something that Christoph from the Swiss Marketplace Group spoke about earlier. He's very keen on, building high-performing teams because it will show in the product. Customers will notice. I mean, they might not think, oh, this product sucks. It's probably because the employees aren't happy. But subconsciously, that kind of gets pulled through. So happy employees, greater product, happy customers, happy partners, happy merchants. So it's a flywheel. It's just about, well, next slide, continuously improving and monitoring what it is that you actually want, the KPIs that you want to move. So the key success factor for customer centricity. I mentioned earlier that I was working for a company where they thought customer centricity was A/B testing. I trust everyone here knows what A/B testing is, right? It's a control group, and then the second group, the A and the B, where one group sees something, the other doesn't, and then you see what performs better. So I always ask, so how customer-centric are you really? And what I often do in my projects today is, we have a workshop that we kick off, and we get everybody in a room, and we, start, opening the people's minds. We let them be creative. And some of the things that we then talk about is, so if you look at this slide, user experience design, right? Something went wrong. I mean, the design, looks very nice. But not enough people are using it, as you can see. So that was kind of design maybe gone wrong or not having been implemented as much as it should have been. Now, sorry for the slightly blurred, but what it says on the red sign, it says, please use the purpose-made paved path provided. Yeah, okay, right, good luck with that. That's for sure a bad idea, right? That does not work. Maybe slightly better is this, right? So they've actually paved the path that people want to take, so a little bit better. But actually, one university, I think it was, I'm not sure which state, some university here in the United States, what they did is before they paved any path, they waited for it to snow. And then they basically looked at it from a bird's eye view and saw where were the tracks that actually the students took getting from building to building, and then that's where they built the paths. So you can see it's quite a maze of different walkways, but right, that is for sure a lot better. So looking at customers first. So I'm going to need to speed up a little bit. Changing perspectives. Right? Always remember, there's always a different perspective to things. Right, now, not a very nice picture. Sorry, but I love the story nevertheless. Second World War, planes came back. I think this is an English plane. Came back, back over the channel. I'm going to skip over him. Came back over the channel, and engineers assessed what actually, what happened, where do we need to reinforce these planes, right? So they said, okay, right, everywhere where the plane was hit, we have to reinforce it. And then the mathematician, the slide that I just jumped over, Abraham Wald, he said, no, wait a second. And this is called the survival bias. He said, actually, no, these are the planes that actually made it back home. So we need to think about where were the planes hit that didn't make it back home. And those are the spots that I've basically circled, because that's where you need to reinforce. So again, it's about changing perspective and looking closely and challenging and really putting yourself in the shoes and thinking things through. So what does this mean for you? You don't want to continuously be pushing in new leads or activate or acquire new customers into your funnel. You actually want to make sure that they stay, because it's so expensive to push them in through the top, as we heard earlier. Because good or great customer experience leads to customer satisfaction, and that leads to loyalty. And one side note on loyalty, just in case, it's not just about giving people things and giving people points. Loyalty is so much more fun for users if they actually earn something, right? There's this gamification element. So that's something that I do want to let you take away today as well. Loyalty is not just loyalty. Think about how you promote loyalty. So jumping over the customer journey, that's very simple. Last slide, or second to last slide. In your data, you will find something that is called the tipping point. Now, for example, at PayPal, the tipping point was within a 12-month period, 3 successful transactions, and a consumer migrated from being active to being engaged. Now, the whole company would focus on this 3rd transaction to happen. Customer care knew about it, and if a consumer that just had finished their 2nd transaction had a problem with their 3rd, this consumer would be bumped up in the queue, the best agent would take the call, and they would make sure that actually this 3rd transaction happens, because then they knew this customer lifetime value level would then be accelerated. All of you in your data, if you have a good data architecture and structure, you will probably have this kind of tipping point. And that's something that I currently analyze with my clients today. And it's not always as simple as 3 transactions and then you're done. Sometimes it's a combination of, signed up for the newsletter, had a transaction, had a contact with customer care, or, all of the different things that can be done on your platforms and marketplaces. But have a look at that, or think about what that might mean. So, key takeaways. So, really listen, don't assume. Explicitly change your perspective. Ask your teams to, maybe do a little bit of role modeling. Ask them to be someone else, wear somebody else's hat. Track the user behavior, and focus on what is not going so well, right? So remember the airplane coming back, where you, again, also had to change perspective. And then be smart about what you focus on. So there is a tipping point, most likely. You don't have to do marketing, with a shotgun and basically, try to, get as much as possible. You really just need to know which pieces of the journey you need to focus on. And then it's a way higher return on investment, and pretty much a guaranteed improvement of customer experience, leading to improvement of sales. Right, so thank you. Please get in touch if you want to know more, and thank you so much.
Miriam, thanks very much for that. Got to bring up slide, fantastic. The theory sounds great, but where do companies most often get it wrong? Right? Which is like looking at the plane, right? If we want to think about not what went right, what goes wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's always good to know what went right, because you want to do more of that.
Yep.
But of course, like I said, focus on what went wrong. Of course, if you believe that that's going to be a part of the journey where you can make a difference. In my opinion, and I hope you're not disappointed, because it's actually way too simple, but it really, really mostly goes wrong with mindset. With businesses not prioritizing the customer as the first most important entity or person or stakeholder that needs to be pleased.
Okay. To what extent do you think the issue is the porpoising issue, right? Where they're so buried down in the day-to-day micro issues that they don't take time to come back up to the surface and have a look around to make sure they are going in the right direction and working on the right stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that happens a lot. I mean, that happens to all of us, that we're stuck in the detail and we forget about the bigger picture. What I always think works really well is having, once per quarter or so, set times when you and your teams go for workshops and you take yourself out of the day-to-day business and, allow yourself to be creative and play around.
Okay, and I think you mentioned a point in that sentence there, which I think is quite important, is getting cross-team interaction. Mm-hmm. So I would assume part of the issue you have is that, well, I'm working on my bit, someone else is working on their bit, and someone else is working on the third bit, and we never stop to make sure we're all working on the same thing together.
Yep.
And that's why you get these two paths going in different
Yes.
directions, and someone has to put a sign up at the end saying, no, go that one.
Yeah,
No, this one.
absolutely. Yes, that's true. So it's about involving your customer care, your developers. It's about, building this high-performing team, and of course, benefiting from the diversity that you have through all the different teams and groups of people. So it's definitely worth spending time and getting these right people together.
Yeah, so for me, the key takeaways, the summary is, right, A, having clarity on where you're trying to go, getting everyone to understand we're working together, it's around the customer or whatever problem we're trying to solve, getting everyone to work towards the common goal, but making sure I, as a leader, keep cycling back to the people who are working on the various elements to get there, and making sure they understand what they're doing fits into the overall scheme of things, and then making sure that there's communication between the elements of the business. Okay?
Yep.
Which is probably what true leadership's about at the end of the day, right?
Exactly. In my opinion, a good leader is not in the detail, but has the right people that are accountable and have ownership. And of course, you need a common purpose for that. But that's a whole new discussion.
Yeah. One last question, because someone's interested. Why'd you get back into consulting, having been doing?
Yeah, exactly. So after 15 years in industry, I wanted to go back and roll up my sleeves and dive into as many different industries and companies as possible, and share all the knowledge and expertise that I had acquired in those great companies I had mentioned.
Okay. Miriam, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great to hear the story. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.